Happy Saturday morning, knuckleheads. Starting off with a little fish. Everything's right. Actually, I've been hard at it for a couple hours now. No rest for the wicked, right? No rest for the idiots. We got doors galore. Spraying outdoors. Look at this, piles and piles of doors. Spray. Getting that lacquer buzz going. Anyhow, it's a beautiful Saturday morning. Great time to be alive in this crazy, chaotic, and awful, wonderful world. A lot of things going on. None of it is looking great, you know? Every time we turn the corner, it's just another slap in the face, more bad news. We're going to be talking about this stuff here upcoming. It's kind of scary with all this stuff going on with the, I've been saying this since the first stimulus package, the initial CARES Act. You can't take money and just create it out of thin air. Everybody's upset that there's no stimulus coming out here with this next one that they've just approved for $908 billion or whatever it is. I remember when we used to think that $1 billion was just like an unfathomable amount. I remember as a kid thinking about $1 million was unfathomable. Now it's nothing. We're talking about $908 billion allocated, and none of that's going to the people. But the thing is, we also have to understand is that that's not really, it's not money. It's there's value in it because we believe there's value in it, but ultimately when it comes down to it, we're talking about not even pieces of paper. We're talking about digitally fabricated monetary instruments. And what those fabricated instruments do is they provide more debt. And so to truly understand the monetary system in this country, we've got to understand that money is debt. And the reason that the Fed is, quote unquote, creating more currency, they're not printing any money. If the credit card companies were to call in all their debt today, there's not enough currency on the planet to cover that debt. If MasterCard, Visa, Discover, American Express, all the major credit card companies were to say this afternoon, okay, we want our money back. Guess what? There's not enough currency to cover that, to make that whole. So what happens then? Next thing you know, your debit card doesn't work at the gas station. And guess what? You ain't getting no fuel out of a gas station anymore without that card working, you know what I mean? And you're damn sure not going to be going across the street to the ATM and getting cash out with that ATM card, because there's not going to be money in the banks. I don't know when the last time anybody tried to take out a sum of cash from their bank. I know the last time that I messed around with them in the amount of a check for like 15 grand drawn on the bank where I banked, and I wanted the cash, and they almost lost their minds over it. I had to fill out a currency transaction report. They tried to do everything in their power to keep me from taking that money out of that bank, even though that's my money and the funds were there to back the check, and I banked there. So we've all got a really crazy kind of perception of money, and I think we need to have a paradigm thought shift about this, because it's gonna crash. And I hate to be pessimistic. And I don't want to be pessimistic, but I think that it's probably for the best. Because with what we're doing right now, we're in a never-ending cycle of debt right now, and my kid's 12 years old, and how many trillion? He's what now? 26, 27 trillion dollars in debt. Because he didn't do anything as a kid. He didn't rack up this debt, but he's going to be paying it the rest of his life. I didn't rack up any of this debt. Now, granted, I do have my debt. I've got some credit cards and this and that and here and there that, but, I mean, think of $1 trillion. Think of $1 trillion. Put the zeros on that. Think about that. And then look at what this CARES Act did. How many people were issued checks for the $1,200, 9 months ago? Was it like 120 million people got that check? Okay, plug that into your calculator. What happened to the rest of that money? First of all, it was never money to begin with. Let's keep that in mind. It was never money to begin with. And your check was never money to begin with either. All that is just a digital number. You got it in the mail or they direct deposited it into your account. So it's a digital format currency. And what did you do with it? You turn around and you paid bills, you bought groceries. That's not that's not capital that anybody who got the check. Personally, I didn't get, I didn't submit for a stimulus check. I'm hard-headed, I'm stubborn, and I just said, the hell with it. I'm not putting in for it. I don't want it. I don't want their handout. What I want to do is provide some kind of a service or product for people in my life that is valuable. And I don't care about having somebody write me a check in return for it, I mean, if I'm working for somebody, if somebody wants some cabinets built and they have something in their garage that's been, that's something that I want, hey, guess what? Hey, let's work out a deal. Let's trade. Let's barter. And we're going to have to go back to that. We're definitely going to have to go back to that. And it's going to be a very short period of time in which I think we're going to have to go back to the barter and trade system, because this is not going to play out. I've been talking about hyperinflation for months and months and months. Nobody wants to listen to me. Nobody cares. Everybody says, oh, you're always getting all political, and nobody gives a shit about it. And it's like, well, guess what? This is going to be the shit that's affecting your life. And I will also say that the second law of thermodynamics that we're talking about here is entropy. And that means that basically everything is in a constant state of decay. It's just like our lives. Every second we're alive is a second that we are dying. We don't live this life and become, physically more whole than we were when we were brought in. I mean, it's not the curious case of Benjamin Button. I mean, we're born to die, and every second that we're here, we're dying, and every bit of breath that I'm wasting, I'm not necessarily wasting, but using on this video and these contemplations is, these are seconds that I'm personally dying, and if anybody's watching this, you're doing the same. And so this system is going to come crashing down, and my thoughts on the whole thing is that, first of all, the government doesn't care. The people that we vote for, that we fight over, that we get in arguments with one another over, they don't care. Now, why don't they care? Because they're worried about number one. That's it. Now, it seems kind of silly to me because, let's face it, folks. I mean, at the end of the ride, and the end of the ride could come, 5 seconds from now, 5 years from now, 10 years. we never know when the end of the ride is gonna, come up. We never know when our ticket's gonna get punched. But the fact of the matter is that we all have the same dirt nap waiting for us at the end of this thing. We've all got the same thing, And to sit here and to fight about all this stuff and to live our lives in pursuit of this quote unquote money, these riches, this wealth. To me, wealth is something different than money. Wealth comes in the form, in my mind, what I'm trying to pursue is wealth comes in the form of love and compassion, and caring for other people and helping other people, and being solid for other people. Raising decent children who understand these concepts rather than this concept of, well, the more money I have, the more status I have. Because let's face it, it doesn't matter. I mean, the thing is, if I get struck by lightning at the same time as Donald Trump later on this afternoon, guess what? What does it matter? I mean, all his riches and he's taking the same ride that I'm going to go on next. And so you spend this precious time that you have here in this plane on this ethereal floating fucking tube ride that we're going on, basically. I mean, why spend it in the pursuit of material? I want to ask you, have you ever lost everything? Anybody out there, you ever lost everything? You ever lost everything you had? Been incarcerated, been in solitary confinement, locked in a cage with nothing, and then have to hit the reset button and come back to grips of coming to terms with who you really are and how little all this shit matters. Look at all this shit. I got this is just, this is one shop here. I got another one. I've got a trailer outside that's full of shit. I mean, this is stuff that I've accumulated over the last number of years since I've been out of prison, and I've had a great support system with my family, and not many friends. I mean, you find out who your friends are when you get locked in a box for years, and then you come back out in the real world and you find out who your friends really are. And it's kind of funny because the ones who are your friends, I've personally found are oftentimes people that I never have even met in person. I got friends like, let's say for instance, like Mr. Charlie Caperton, right? I've never met this man in person, but he and I, we have this friendship just from online. And I mean, this is a gentleman that honestly, I really look forward to meeting in person at some point in time, and I hope that'll happen. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I feel like I already know this gentleman. I'm friends like my friend Keith and Rita Berry. I mean, they're people that I never knew in person, and until we were snowboarding up in Bozeman, and they came to the hotel. We'd never met in person, but I knew them already in the character of who they were, and I mean, it was just boom, click. And I mean, some of the most important people in my life. I mean, I consider those people to be some of the best friends that I have. You end up with some people that you look at it. I mean, from high school, I don't have that many people that I'm close with. I mean, I've got my friend Jared Whitney down in Colorado, and my cousins and stuff like that. But other than that, really, I don't care. I don't go to reunions, nothing like that. Because all it really is just it's a pissing match. You show up and, oh, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? Where have you been? What are you at? it's not that anybody even gives a fucking shit about what it is that you've been doing. They're trying to measure themselves against you, and it's like a pissing match, you know? And that's what we have with the government and with these elections and all these officials that we feel that we need to prop up and let run our lives. How silly is that? How absolutely silly is that we are so disconnected from ourselves that we need to go have a popularity contest to prop somebody up and put them in charge of us. Like we don't know what to do with life. And I'll tell you what, folks, I'm not preaching, I'm not being judgmental or anything like that, but I feel like if individuals actually took a step back from what they're doing, if they step back from this grind, this 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, working for somebody else, being a wage slave, and step out of your comfort zone. Step out of it. Do something else. Fail. Go fall flat on your face. At least when you do that, you own it. You know what I mean? It's like to sit there and spend the best years of your life punching a clock for somebody else, And you got to look at it. I mean, say you're working for a corporation. Okay, you got an ownership group or whatever whoever the hell is the bigwigs in this thing that are sitting there. They're making money off of you, right? What do they have? What do they have at the end of the thing? They have the same dirt nap that you have. The same dirt nap. We all get the dirt nap, unless we make provisions ahead of time to get cremated or blown up like Hunter S. Thompson, which was that was a pretty good way to go. I was pretty stoked on that when they shot him out of that freaking cannon. That was pretty badass, I don't know if I want to be like Donnie from The Big Lebowski, where Walter Sobchak throws my ashes out and I blow back on the dude's face. But it really doesn't matter, because this thing that we're riding around in, this thing that I'm talking to you from right now, this is just a car. This is a car. This is it's a means of transportation through this life. These bodies that we have, this existence that we have it's just a car, and it's temporary, and it's fleeting by every single second. And I guess my point is that there's no point in doing something that does not make you happy. If you're not doing something that pleases you, if you're not creating, building, communicating, even if you're building, relationships with your kids, with your family, we only have so long to have meaningful interactions with not only ourselves but with others. And I think that's the big thing, is having meaningful interactions with others, compassion, caring for one another, doing the kind thing for somebody when you don't necessarily get something in return for it. Because what you can get in return for being kind to somebody, what kindness rewards you with, is something far greater than a monetary instrument. It builds somebody else, it influences them, and the act of giving perhaps is the biggest gift that I think you can receive as well. And I'm definitely not propping myself up on anything at all, but I do a lot of things for people for free, because I like to. I really enjoy being able, if I can get myself in positions where I can build, create, give, do something for somebody else, especially if it's something that I create and give to them. It's, I mean, I think that a lot of time that these people that are in positions of influence, when birthdays and, I mean, think about Christmas, for Christ's sake. Sorry about the swear word there, with no pun intended, but I mean, think about the connotations with Christmas. I mean, how many of you out there are going to go into debt over Christmas? I've done it the last number of years. I mean, I came out of prison, and I mean, the first 3-4 years I was out, I was spending $3 to $5 to $6 to $7 grand every year on Christmas, because I'd been away from my kids, and I wanted I guess I wanted to prove myself worthy, but really, what good did it do? It didn't. I mean, most of this shit turned out broken and in a pile. I mean, my kid didn't really care about, the silly gifts. He cared more about the just having a tree and, doing things together, going snowboarding and hanging out and eating pizza and just kicking it and developing a relationship, and it's going to be a tough time coming up soon for a lot of people in this country, because I think we all have this perception that Christmas comes along and especially if you're the provider for your family and stuff, you've got this perception that you have to, you got to have that tree just lined with gifts, and for what? What are you teaching your children with that? What are you showing them? Now, it might be difficult for them because the status quo is, you go back after Christmas break when you're in school and you're a kid, and everybody talks about what they got, and it's a bragging point, and I mean, I remember the kids when I was in grade school and stuff that would come back, and you could tell that they really didn't have much of a Christmas, and I mean, we were never flamboyant about, that stuff. I mean, it was like you'd get one thing that you wanted, whether it be a pogo stick or a fireman's helmet or whatever. But, I remember friends that they'd come back to school and you'd see it, and it's like they didn't have, they didn't come back wearing any new clothes, But I tell you what, those were the type of people that I have met that would give you anything that they had. I mean, I had a friend in grade school, and I remember a stupid birthday party that I had, and everybody brought something that they picked up at Kmart or whatever, and I mean, what kind of thought goes into that? Your parents take you to the store, they buy something that they think you're gonna like, they wrap it up in some paper and put it, spend a bunch, and then they throw it to you, and you open it up, and there's no meaning in it. But I had this one friend, and I think I was in 4th or 5th grade, and he didn't have anything. He I mean, he was, it was a single parent household. His mom, she worked her ass off. She was a server at a restaurant, and she worked very hard, and he didn't have a lot, and he was a great friend, and I'd love to run into him again, but all these kids brought out these prepackaged, gifts or whatever, and he took a scrap piece of wrapping paper and wrapped up one of his GoBots, and I don't know if any children from the 80s remember those, the GoBot transformer things. It was beat up, it was, paint was chipped off of it, it was one of his prized possessions, because this guy didn't have a lot. And to me, that was one of probably the best gifts that I've ever been given in my entire life, was that chipped up, beat up GoBot from my friend Lance, because for him to make that sacrifice, for him to give that to me, that meant the world to him. That showed how he felt about our friendship at that point in our lives, and I've never forgotten that. And how do you put a price tag on that? This kid didn't have jack shit, yet because of our friendship, he was willing to give me one of his prized possessions, and it really touched me. I get misty-eyed thinking about it right now, just because I've dealt with so many materialistic people, and I've been materialistic myself too. I'm guilty of it, just like anybody else is. I'm no saint. I'm not even close. You know, I'm the biggest sinner in the room. I'm just trying to figure it all out. Trying to live right and be right by people and do right by people and you know, trudge through this existence and figure out what it's all about, you know. And hopefully at the end just have somebody say, yeah, this was a good dude. I mean, that's really all I care about. I just like, I mean, when I make my exodus, I'd just like to have, you know, if one person can stand up and say, hey, this was a good dude, then I'd consider myself doing okay. Anyhow, those are the contemplations for the day. I'm gonna get back to the product of my labor here. I'm listening to some music on this Saturday morning. Keep spraying this lacquer and huffing these fumes and, you know, shortening my life cycle here and fucking up my central nervous system as best I can, but hey, I'm copping the cheap buzz while I'm doing it. So hope y'all are doing well on this Saturday morning. Hope you're staying away from the COVID. Check out some of my other links I put out there as well when it comes to that, because there's some medication out there that has been around, and I think that they've been skipping over it because Pfizer's put so much into this vaccine. But you might want to look in. I'll just say right now, it's a medication that you give your dog called HeartGuard for parasites, and it's doing wonders with patients who have the COVID. I hope none of you have the COVID, and if you do, I hope you get over it quickly and are well. Take care of yourselves.